I guess we're gonna be using, I'm using these Daler-Rowney inks, whatever they're called. This was once upon a time Payne's Gray Straight. It has since mixed with about 400 other inks. So we're gonna do that. It's sort of a dark color. I can show the swatch I did earlier. It's gonna be this color. This was a really thin swatch, but hopefully when it's laid out flat, it's gonna be this. So I could do it with the pens. No, we're having fun with this. We're gonna do the pens because that's my favorite thing to do. There is a little bit in the distance, in the very far distance, a little itty bitty bit of music, and there's a cat bearing and ready to be witnessed. It's not a cat that's not normally hangs out in my room, so we're having an experience today with Monsieur Pedro. I have a couple tools I'm experimenting with. I have this fillable pen. I don't know. It was gifted to me, so we're going to experiment, I suppose. I don't know. I'm unsure of these. I've only played with them once or twice, but we'll probably use that for doing washes in the back. But before that, we need to do the inking, so. That was dangerous. I just realized I did that over the drawing sketch. I've taken photos of this. Always take photos of your stuff before you go at them, but we'll see how it turns out. I've been mulling over this composition for a couple of weeks now, working on it once or even twice a week, but not very often. Let's get this over here. It didn't load up very much. This is a new paper. It's a test. It's sort of translucent. I can't really tell if you can tell from on the screen, but you can sort of see through it. But it's sort of new in that regard. I don't know how to do hands. I especially don't know how to do hands with less fingers than a human. It's great. I don't at all know what I am doing. Which character should we do first? I'm thinking I am going to do this side to this side, so we'll start with Xavier over here. That hand looks rough. It's fine. This is just a practice. This is sort of like an experiment with this ink on this kind of paper. I will be doing a lot of sort of ink work for my next semester. I've sort of decided for myself. I'm going abroad, and I have looked them in the eye in my application to this program abroad and said I will be doing illuminated manuscript recreation, a la Bird People, probably. But here we are. Yeah. They're fun characters. I like these characters a lot. I do the parts that I am least interested in first, because then I can sort of spend a little bit more time on what I don't quite like, or I'm scared of. In this case, faces. I like doing portraiture, but we'll do these simple lines first for all of the characters, and then we will go in and do like embellishments. That's sort of how I like to do things. That's okay. I'm gonna give it 30 minutes, and then if the cat is still here in 30 minutes, I will pick up the phone and I will go walk over and show the cat on the stream. He's sleeping on top of a coat, on top of my bed, in a pile of pillows. So this paper is referred to as, I'm looking for somewhere I can, here, I'll just bring this over and that'll protect my sketches. This paper is referred to as vellum, which, if you know anything about your paper history, is traditionally like animal skin. And I say this is called venom because they have non-animal like vellum. So the vellum, which is traditionally animal skin, this is what you see in illuminated manuscripts, illuminated manuscripts. And this is, and I come from a very Christian place, so this is very Christian. This is what, like, Book of Kells is. It is, like, this particular style of illumination was very common in monasteries in Ireland, and they had a very particular look to them because there was so much time and, like, sort of artistic stylization invested into them. Like, people would spend their entire lives doing a couple pages of the Bible in illuminated work. And this isn't something isolated to Ireland. It's just sort of like the region that I'm super interested in. You see similar sort of like stylizations and illuminations of like historical or religious texts in other cultures. There's beautifully done holy books out of the Middle East that are gorgeous. There's many a Torah. We looked at the Torah a lot in conjunction with the Book of Kells when I was studying it in art history. And so I really love this illumination practice. But traditionally it is done on animal skin. Even those historical Torahs, I think, are. But this is a thing, and this might be an entirely US thing, but I go to a lot of sort of niche art stores. I go to a lot of big brand art stores. None of them ever have actual animal skin vellum. They instead have this paper that I'm working on now, which is referred to as vellum, but it's a paper product made out of tree and plant material. And it's sort of like, it's used a lot for printing. You'll see this as like a print media. It's a very thin, very transparent, translucent paper, as you can sort of see. Like if I fold it over, you can see straight through back to the vellum. And so I bought this just as an experiment to see. But while I'm in Europe this summer, before my study abroad program, I am going to a 200-year-old art store, and according to their website, they have animal skin vellum in a range of animal skins, not even just like pig skin or sheepskin. I think they have a range. They have like 4 or 5 types of skins that you can get. And these skins are tanned and very, very thin, and that's sort of why they were used for these books. So that's sort of what this project I'm working on right now is sort of a test of if I can ink on something this thin, and sort of what it'll look like, because I presume this is a similar thickness to the animal skin. I've never seen it, so I don't know. So that's what this is, sort of. This is a multi-stage project practice doing something. So this is going to be a cord of some form going around the middle. Yeah, I think that'll do. And then finally, that'll do it. That's a belt. Yeah. So in ink work for like those books and historical books, they would have started with the color first, and then the very last thing would have been their darkest blacks for inking. So they would have started with, say, if there was gold foil, they would have done gold leafing, gold work first, and then they would have done the precious colors, and then they would have done browns, and then they would have done black. At least according to what I've researched. It might have been different depending on the practice, but how it's made things that I've sort of followed have all sort of done that kind of order. That's good. I'll end up black in there. So this character's outfit is vaguely inspired by a couple different regions. You can sort of guess by my nonsense rambling about illuminated manuscripts that I like medieval looks. And so I sort of done vaguely medieval, vaguely Asian-esque, desert, like, textile-rich region sort of look with this character. He's got a lot of layers and things that sort of move freely. He's a flight capable species of alien, and so he has many layers on him for his dressing, as along with his like feathers that he's wearing for much of his outfit. So like there will be tassels coming down off of this. And like this species wears looser, sort of a little bit looser garb. Feathers aren't super dense in this this core region. They have like some. It's not as large of a feather work and detail. So he's sort of like speckled. It's like little speckles on him. for his feathers. But his species, they have wild thick hips due to landing, how they land. So they have two knees, basically. This is technically an ankle back here, and then they stand on their toes. But that ankle and that knee, when they come into land, they stretch straight out, and then they will fold back. And so it's sort of like a spring, and then they sort of bounce a little bit. And so this hip sort of mechanizes that bounce. If you've ever seen, I think they're called kangaroo mice. You can sort of see them, they're little guys and they're giant ears, but their hips are like huge and they've got super long tails kind of thing. Whoop, whoop. And short little paws. So it's sort of that kind of, they bounce and they get all of their upward taking off momentum and landing momentum from those hips. You also sort of see it in birds. I don't know. I can't sketch a good bird for it because they're sort of covered up by all the feathers, and that kind of thing. So. But they have the tendency, they wear layers on their legs like this. This is sort of a compression here. It holds these sort of larger pants into place, but it also acts as like the top of a sock, basically. So like sometimes they'll have, he's wearing shorts in this instance, but they will have tight under things that come all the way down to their ankles, where the feathers really bulk up again, but not in this case. He, I will say, this boy here, he's sort of like, from sort of like a mix, so there's more, cold flying, cold regions, desert regions, and sort of like savanna, wet regions as well, kind of thing. But he's sort of got the fluffy designer chicken in him. So he's got sort of like a boot in his natural sock pattern. He's very fluffy on his ankle, or from his ankle down. So there he is. I'm doing some like texturing over here. He's going to have, it's going to be sort of invisible. I'm also planning to do an experiment. There is the most annoying fly that just got in here from the garage. Dang, I was at peace in this room. But yeah, normally this would be like worn in a wrap kind of look. But not in this context today, so. Part of that designer chicken look is funky. He's got a funky puff on his tail. He's so funny, this character, because he's like one of the fastest characters in the entire like flight group that you encounter flying. He's like the only thing faster than him is this one who does shapeshift at the majority of the story. This character is spent shapeshifted into a very similar look to this character, like species wise. And you can sort of see a little bit in the design difference. This character is meant for, aside from the downfall of the designer chicken, he is built for speed, so he is very much a diver. His wings will sort of reflect that a little bit. He's also he's a diver. He's quite fast, but his main is he's not the most camouflaged, which is so entertaining, because then you look at this one when they're in their sort of bird shape. This one is very much should not be camouflaged, but is very, very, very camouflaged, well hidden. None of the coloring should work, but turns out that didn't matter too much in the circumstances. So yeah, that's my fun thing. I have to go grab his wing reference real quick. Okay. Yeah. His wings are of the high-speed archetype sort of shape, so they're sort of, when they're all spread out, they're long and sort of thin compared to, so like this character's wings are sort of like this shape, so very high speed, sort of that kind of shape, and so they're long and they're thin. This character, when they have their wings, they've got a similar shape. They're much longer, a little bit more, but they're also a little bit thicker, kind of. My paper's not on screen. You can't see what I'm drawing. So they're this character's wings are much the second characters. So like that's sort of like that sort of shape, wing wise. And he's got smaller gliding wings too, but because it's a special character, it's so fun. Okay. I think we're on to the head time. Let's get that a little bit centered for y'all. Okay. Yeah, he's okay. There is lawn mowing happening somewhere on this property, and I am only a little bit distressed by that. he gets to dry now, which means we're gonna come over to one of the problem children. Oh, the problem children characters. These characters' designs are a little bit tricky to do at any given time, ever. I just finalized this character's design. He gave me so much strife. And this one, they're just the endless shapeshifter you can never pin down kind of character. Actually, you know what? Let's do an experiment right now. So, the thing with real animal vellum that you can do is you can pull out a sharp, knifey thing like this. Technically, this is for scratchboard. And you can scrape away any mistakes you made. So, I'm gonna come in here and scrape and scrape and scrape a little. I'm gonna actually put this on. I'm having an intense. I know I have another one of these, but I cannot find it for the life of me, so the pen nib is off. This thing is now in, so I wonder if I can zoom in without knocking my camera. Woo! Many apologies. That was bad. Ah! If I can do this without launching my phone. Downsides of this setup is it is so tricky to move. I want you to be able to see where I'm working. So put it down here. I got counterbalancing it because I'm going to be down here and I'm scraping away. That does lighten it up a little bit. So I do think this ink has stained my paper. But you can sort of see a difference happening. Maybe you guys can't. I can. So with a thicker paper, this would definitely work a lot better. So like a watercolor would be easier to manipulate like this. But yeah, okay, that's cool. Sort of gives you a little bit of control. Yeah, interesting. thing to play with. I guess my next test has to be it will have to be doing it on watercolor. If I can think and do actions at the same time, we'd be golden. We'd be set for life out here in the wild, in the world. I'm going to now... Oh, I'm so scared to do this character. This character took me the longest to figure out the outfit for, so I guess we're gonna come here. Okay. This character gets all of my sort of like vaguely European armor classing in their design a little bit, mixed with, not in this character's, and not this iteration of the design, but in other iterations of the design they are very much an armor class, and so they end up like very militaristic looking for some of the story times, which fits them when you learn more about them and their history as a character. But they're also very much my character that developed out of nerdiness. So they get sort of like all my indulgence points. And you get to see that a little bit in their textile. The textiles they end up wearing throughout the series. They're very... This character ranges from either excessively modern vibes to not at all, to very medieval kind of looks. Not English medieval, but more of a Norse... This is where the Irish comes in. The Norse sort of look exists in them. Kind of, you get a mix of Eurocentric design to them, which makes it extra fun when you realize that all the other characters are very much non-Eurocentric. They have very they get a human look to them, vaguely, for some of them, but their designs, I take a lot of inspiration from non-Eurocentric regions for their looks, just so I have a little bit of diversity. And so you get this character that looks out of place because they don't really fit any of the design elements of the people around them. I sort of ascribe this character to more squares and sort of rounded triangles. So like you draw a triangle and then all of the corners, you round those out. And so that sort of like is the shape language of this character, is a very angular, very square, but also very rounded triangular shapes. Xavier gets very heart shapes with the wings and the heart-shaped teardrop shapes with this one, Zave over here. And then Auden here gets very square shapes and lines. I guess I should plug why the three beings of planetary origin are all together. These are characters out of my book project, my writing project, and I like drawing them. They're sort of my like blorbos that no one will ever know at this moment. You see them in a lot of my work, kind of just as an experiment kind of thing, because I know them, and so I can sort of be like, yeah, this is a good time to practice doing this character. And so they end up in a lot of my work, media work, with the art. This book project holds 300% of my brain power. But these characters are... I thought if I was going to stream anything during the month of June, I was like, I guess I have to stream doing this ink practice, because these are the my triad of lovers. They're a polyamorous triad, and it's a little bit sad. Their story is very depressing, not by virtue of being a love story, but by virtue of these characters originate within the context of a tragedy. And so, if I got my brain into gear and did some animation practice too, I could totally do some gut-wrenching shenanigans, but I will not be doing that. But these characters, in the context of their tragedy, they are very happy for their love story. But they don't get to stay that way. Because that is the point of a tragedy. But, these characters, they're great. They're great fun. I jokingly refer to them as the gays, and they're asexual in their triad. So they're fun. They're all nice and lovely. These are my fun characters. I do adore them greatly. If you're watching this on my YouTube, you can sort of go look and see other design variations of these characters a little bit, especially these two that I've worked on and inked today. Xavier and Auden are sort of like the stars of that animation whip I had to do for class. That was a bad project. That was a hell project. But they're the main stars there. And there's also one where I'm talking about getting audio into Clip Studio Paint. It's just a little note to self tutorial for myself. But if you're on my YouTube, same name as my channel on Twitch, they have appeared there frequently. So you see them there and the little bit of work I've done kind of with them. I'm not adjusting the camera because this is just a couple of lines down here out of your frame. You'll see them later, don't worry. But, yep, there it is. But yeah, it's fun. This character is honestly one of my favorite designs. I like it giving sort of masculine looking characters. All of these characters end up looking rather similar, feminine aspects in sort of their builds and stuff, I guess, if you're talking traditional. But they're all supposed to be sort of vaguely androgynous looking. Oh, I'm scared to do his face. Her face, their face, that one. This one's face. Okay, here we go. I've never learned how to draw braids, so bear with me. This is the worst braid you'll ever see drawn by anyone in the world. I'm relatively sure once, a million years ago, I was like, man, this character should look like Rapunzel. And that's how we got to this design. With the exceptionally long hair. There's also, like, I can point at inspiration of, I can very confidently say that some of this character, like, the reason their hair is so long is due to a Tumblr post where they're talking and they sort of prompt, and the prompt is, the war is declared basically when you know how long it's been since a leader declared war or went to war because of how long their hair is. And then it's like, war has been declared and that's this massive braid has arrived at your doorstep kind of thing. It's a beautiful Tumblr post. And I've always enjoyed it. And I like that idea of war requires a physical tribute kind of thing as a concept. load my pen before I do a long line, I guess. This sort of like short hair bang situation that happens with this character's design here, like that has been part of this character's vibe and look for, I want to say 6 years. I've attempted to redesign this character a couple of times, and they've always had this swoosh. Alright, almost done with this character, and then I think I will stop streaming for a while and come back and finish and do more streaming, and it will include finishing this character over here. So there we are. I will wave at you all, say farewell. We're done inking for now. Gotta let this dry so I can sort of lean and come over to this side. But thank you for watching.